Welcome to the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, the podcast by filmmakers for filmmakers. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined alongside my co-host Jeff, as always. Jeff and I are writers and directors and passionate about the art of storytelling. Filmmaker Mixer is a creative hub where aspiring and established filmmakers come together to share experiences, insights, strategies, and inspiration.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, software for all of your production needs. Stay tuned for more information later in the show. Hello, everybody. This is the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, and today we are chatting with filmmakers Zach Green and Devin O'Rourke. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Now, well, you got some exciting news. Last time we chatted about your film Foil, which is a great film, and now you got distribution. So that's a big win.
Yeah, it came out on,
and you're incredibly excited about it. I can tell.
We're just warming up. Jeff. Yeah, it came out in May on VOD, and now it's out on Prime Video. It's on Apple for buy and for rent, and it's on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
So it's out there. You can stream it, you can buy it, you can rent it, you can watch it. So yeah.
Well, we get questions all the time about distribution, and so I definitely want to chat with you about your strategy and how the festivals help and things like that. But first, just for folks who maybe haven't seen the film, tell us about Foil.
So Foil is it's a desert buddy sci-fi comedy. Devin and I play two old high school buddies that bump into each other 10 years later around the 10-year reunion and decide, screw the reunion, let's reconnect on a camping trip in the desert. And we come across kind of a strange old timer out there with a mysterious piece of foil that may or may not be of alien origin, he claims.
As happens when you go camping in the desert.
All the time. Yeah, we've all had that. Sure. And that drives like a rivet. He's a believer, I'm a skeptic, and our parting ways sort of causes chaos to ensue.
Yeah. Well said.
So I'm curious, kind of now getting more into the distribution side, because we did a whole episode about the movie itself. How early in the process did you really think about development? I think Devin, I remember you kind of work in the post-production space, I believe. So maybe having more of an insight on that end, but was it from the very concept you're thinking about how can we make this marketable to distributors, or was it more like we want to make a film and then afterwards we'll see kind of who wants it?
I mean, I think that we didn't start thinking about distribution from the beginning. I know, at least I wasn't.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make this movie because we liked the idea and we thought we could do it. And as we got into the festival stage, our premiere was at Dances with Films, and we were part of the midnight block, which was all genre films. And so that kind of made it clear to us that people saw this more as a sci-fi movie first. It's funny, but it's that kind of crystallized like, okay, this is how we need to think about this film when we're pitching it. It's like it's sci-fi first. It's a genre film. So out of that screening, we got an offer from a distributor, and
From the Dances with Film screening?
Mm-hmm.
right.
Oh, that early. Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. We didn't end up going with them.
But you were clearly already on the radar.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good
Yeah.
sign. It was a good
Yeah,
sign, but
yeah.
this is our first feature, and I don't think either one of us really knew how this process worked, or like what is a good offer, or like we didn't know much of anything. And eventually we found a sales agent named Glenn Reynolds, who is also from Austin, lives in Austin.
Oh, is that right?
Circus Road Films.
Yes, and I just found him, and we sent him the movie, and he liked it, and he really helped guide us through sort of the murky waters of distributors, and
Mm-hmm.
had experience with many of them. So he started to sort of pitch the film to different distributors, and we ended up with Good Deed Entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
which has a genre label called Cranked Up Films. So that's where we ended up. I think we learned at least a little about how this stuff works and contracts and numbers, but
Yeah,
we went in pretty green.
totally.
Well, I've got
Yeah.
a question,
Definitely.
and
Oh, yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, we definitely received some of the like beware shiesty offers for sure.
Right.
Among some good ones too.
Explain one of those as an example, just for the filmmakers who are listening,
Well,
what they should avoid.
just ones that are vague in terms of like the term, how long they control the film. Ones that are vague in terms of marketing cap. If they don't tell you exactly how much they're willing to spend, that means they can spend as much as they want, and they can easily just pull numbers out of the air to say we spent all of this on marketing, and essentially it's like a never ending. They can just
Right.
keep sucking up your earnings, saying that it's going to marketing, stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's part of why I mean finding Glenn was great because not only did he have this experience with many of these distributors, like personal relationships with people, so we kind of felt better about the fact that we weren't going to get screwed because if Glenn has had a good experience with these people with other films in the past, then he wouldn't. Then that's a good sign.
Hmm.
Um, but also he has the legal experience to like review a contract and negotiate terms. It just we needed
Huge.
someone to get we needed a trained eye to guide us
Mhm.
and yeah, like some of the early offers, I think we realized like you can get an offer like very early in the process. We even got an offer before
We'd even
the
like,
festivals. Like
yeah,
I don't even know if the movie was done.
they just like trolled IMDb and found like
Yeah,
sci-fi comedy. Like, we like this, and like
yeah.
got an offer, and we're like, what the
Yeah.
hell is this?
And so like you're just looking at these offers. You're in these message boards in these like Facebook groups of like private Facebook groups of people who like are just posting rants about how they got screwed by
Totally.
this or that distributor, like stay away from this distributor.
Hmm.
Um, and it's easy to kind of just like lose your bearing and you just don't know what to believe anymore because there's either mixed messages and it's hard to sort of parse if it's just like sour grapes or if there's a legitimate concern about a company. But
I guess
in
if you
the end,
see if you see similar comments about the same company, you can probably know maybe there's something legit there.
yeah,
But you're right. Some people might just be mad because they didn't get a deal with the company, and you never know,
right.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
And
there's a distributor report card too that we found. I
yeah,
think you found that.
that's
What
helpful.
explain that? I haven't heard of that. What is that?
It's a website that basically like crowd gathers intel on distributors, and it breaks it down in terms of like each one has like five different sections of like how did you find them and how did they like onboard you into the contract, and then like contract itself, how communicative were they throughout that experience? Were they paying on time? At any point did they breach the contract, and how was that resolved? Like all of that is like asked of anyone that wants to log their experience, and then as you scroll through those sections it just shows you little blurbs almost like Yelp or something of people's different.
Anonymous comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what
And
went well, what didn't. How did it turn out for you, basically?
Yeah.
what's the website?
I think it is like film something report card. Let
Film
me see.
distributor
Um,
report card.
I might have it bookmarked. I can send you all the link after at
That
the
is
very.
interesting. Well,
Yeah.
one question I had, uh, well, when you're making a film, you try to do everything you can. You get all your contracts set up, with your actors and your talent, and your composers and everybody. But it can be overwhelming, especially if you're a new filmmaker coming up. Did you run into anything in the distribution process that you had to go back and fix in a contract, or did you guys have everything pretty well taken care of?
When we once we whittled it down to good deed, the back and forth there was a couple of back and forths, but they were very minor. It was they offered a percentage and a term, and we essentially did a little back and forth of offering them slightly longer terms for slightly less percentage taken, and came to like a happy medium there. And then Glenn had the wherewithal to also amend that if we ever did want to do some kind of a theatrical run, that they wouldn't be that wouldn't be under their rights or umbrella. That could be something we could independently do. It's unlikely, but if one of us becomes a superstar within our term and people want to see this movie in theaters suddenly, then we would be allowed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just sort of trusting Glenn's experience, and I mean, I think we gave some input, but it's like Zach said, it's really just percentages and how many years. It's the years of the term.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but when we met, a lot of these distributors that we met with, it seemed like maybe they hadn't even watched the movie, and it just felt like very stock. Like,
A canned pitch.
yeah. And when we met with Good Deed, we talked to somebody that had watched it and that we really connected to much better than we did with most others. And they also expressed interest in what we were working on next. So we
Mhm.
saw it as a potential place that we could develop a next project. So
They do have like a
um,
mini production company within
right,
the company happening. They make movies in Ohio.
right.
That it's yeah.
So and again, like having they have this cranked up label, which is genre horror, mostly horror, a little bit of sci. I would say ours is probably definitely the lightest
Yeah.
uh, movie that you'll see in their catalog. But um, well, they did a Will Forte
I did see it,
ghost
yeah.
movie that was kind of silly,
Yeah.
but it just felt good to be like as we were in that midnight block in the festival to be distributed amongst film like similar films and have like a specific label dedicated to our kind of thing. It felt like a good fit, like we were on a bill that was with
Hmm.
other similar bands and
Yeah.
not a metal band and a folk band and a jazz band all together. We felt like with other distributors we might just kind of be dumped and forgotten.
Hmm.
And because we'd seen that with other films,
Yeah.
and that they really did do quite a social media push for Foil. So
They did. Yeah.
it ended up
They had a
being
PR person, social media
yeah.
person. Yeah. And so that was yeah, like they were a little more boutique than the other offer. It came down to two offers, and one was Good Deed that was a little more boutique, which meant a little more focus, which we wanted.
Yeah,
Then the other one was the offer we did get at Dances with Films, but it was a much bigger
right.
distributor.
Higher volume.
Yeah.
They distributed many more films per year.
Mhm.
That was the other thing. So like Good Deed was putting out fewer films, so we thought maybe we'd get a little more attention.
Yeah.
And yeah, it turned out to be true.
Yeah.
So,
I kind of have a two-part ask the first one first, and then let you guys answer, then ask the second. But I'm curious. It doesn't sound maybe like Good Deed, but maybe if other distributors that have approached you that did watch the film, did they weigh in on anything creative wise, like before if they were going to be the ones who distributed it, whether they wanted a certain scene cut or they wanted like time added to the movie to make the runtime longer for wherever they were planning on doing it, or was it really like most people were just taking the movie as is?
no,
Oh, yeah.
honestly, there was very little. Nobody ever asked us to change anything. The only thing that they asked us to change was the trailer.
Hmm.
We ended up shortening the trailer a bit.
And the
Uh,
poster too. They had thoughts on
oh,
the
there
poster.
was yeah. So we sort of at the last minute came out, redid or not redid, made another poster that's orange that
Yeah.
actually has a UFO on it.
Hmm.
Which at first I didn't love that suggestion that they made, but then I've come to like it. And it was created by Emily Mai, who did our other posters as well. Great designer, um, who I had worked with at Sony in the past. And we made this poster really at the last minute,
Truly, yeah.
like right before distribution. In fact, I think it got distributed with the wrong, like a temp version of the
Yeah.
the poster that I had made in Canva, and I was like, no, like,
So that's your Revenge of the Jedi poster.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so that was like super, yeah, that was like kind of a crazy last minute thing, was changing the poster, shortening the trailer. But for the film itself, no, most people didn't even talk about it
Hmm.
in
Mm.
terms of like specifics. It was just mostly terms and deals. Um, but when it came to like the marketing materials, there was a little more creative back and forth.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that was kind of like my second question is, we've talked to people who do programming at festivals, and they talk about how, I guess for better or for worse, sometimes they'll accept films just based off the trailer or like the movie poster sometimes, just based on how it looks. And I'm curious if you think, besides the movie, the trailer you had created and the posters got more attention from distributors, kind of got your foot in the door, possibly.
Maybe
Yeah.
we had the trailer during the festival stage.
Hmm.
I cut the trailer. I have a background in trailer editing.
Hmm.
My day job is as an editor at Sony doing trailers and promos and stuff. So I did a lot of different versions of t teasers and trailers and short form stuff. And it's in terms of like, did that catch anyone's eye? Maybe. I'd like to think so. The trailer's gotten more traction on YouTube than we thought
It did, yeah.
than we thought it would. But yeah, people really seem to love the poster too. And honestly, like for our next film, I might want to like do the poster sooner, when we're in production or even sooner than that, just to kind of like have it be sort of a guiding light aesthetically or like a representation of what we're trying to hit.
Hmm.
But yeah, we were really happy with how the poster turned out. And yeah, like a lot of it too is just kind of presentation of like you said, if you have a good poster, a good trailer, just having those things ready, like when you're approaching the marketing stage,
Hmm.
seemed like it was very much appreciated, at least by
Yeah.
it seemed like the distributors had dealt with people who didn't even have a trailer or
Yeah.
like have anything. So
Is there anything you would do differently from the moment of production um, to festivals and so forth? Now
Hmm.
that you've gone through this and gotten distribution, is there anything you look back and said, I would have done this, I would have started a social media campaign earlier, or whatever? Anything like that that you think would have helped the negotiations and getting to distribution? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, hindsight's 2020, but obviously when we started sending out to fests, you have to kind of prioritize. We're going to go for the big dogs first because the premiere status is so important to those festivals. So we started way back like October submitting to Sundance, then South by, and we were getting no's down the line. And by the time Dances with Films came around, we were still really excited to be accepted by them, but we didn't know what the future held beyond that. And the big one that it sounds like we maybe would have eked into, like they sent out some pretty personalized conversation with us was Austin Film Festival, which we're from Austin. That felt like a really big one for us, and is one that's still in that upper echelon in terms of who pays attention to those festivals. And again, we still got an offer from Dances with Films, and I think that sent us on our way to catch Glenn Reynolds' eye when we reached out to him. Like it worked out exactly how it ought to. But
yeah.
if we were truly conservatively holding our cards close, who knows if we'd held until that would have had to be till the fall of that year to hear from them, and then who knows if we premiered there.
So
Yeah.
are you saying that premiering at Dances with Films might have impacted premiering at another festival?
Yeah, they basically told us at Austin that if it was more than a regional premiere, we probably would have made it through into the
Oh,
pro
interesting.
because we'd premiered elsewhere already in the US. They had to pass, but like it was
Yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of a like sort of gamble that you're just deciding like when to cash your chips in
Yeah. And
for that first premiere.
we were nervous. Like by the time we got to Dances with Films and like heard no from like a good 10 or so of bigger ones or whatever,
Yeah.
we were like, someone just take us. So like we were like thrilled when, again, it's like no regrets at all. But then it was like, yeah, like 4 or 5 months later that Austin just like told us like you barely missed it. And we were like, damn, that stings. That stings a little.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like Zach said, it worked out it worked out great.
Yeah.
In the end, it was perfect. We had a great screening at Eastern Oregon Film Fest.
Hmm.
We went up
I highly
there for
recommend
that.
those guys. Yeah.
And yeah, we're actually, sort of looking into potentially developing a new project up there.
Yeah.
So we've sort of we met a great community of filmmakers around that festival too. So
Hmm.
we were grateful to have done that. And yeah, like so many people in the film or have Austin connections that we really did like want a Texas, at least Texas screening, but
Yeah.
say la vie.
Say love you. You know, the other thing I would say too, and we ended up doing this, but it wasn't the plan, was and maybe we talked about this in the previous episode, that basically sort of just by like the universe choosing our lives for us a little bit. We shot Act One before we shot the rest of the movie. There was like a good 3-4 month break
Yeah.
between, and made like the trailer off of that, huge proof of concept, cut the whole first act together, and all of those materials of like, here's the movie, got us unprecedented level of interest and funding on
Right.
Kickstarter that really like helped us survive post and stuff.
Right.
And if we'd taken that to distributors at that time, like who knows? Like it could have, there's plenty of projects that get a deal even, but like if we did it with Good Deed again next
Right.
time, we'd obviously get them on board before we even started making it. I would have been curious, we didn't know, but at the time, like I'd be curious if we'd taken what we had after shooting that first chunk around what, who could have been interested at that point.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
like all these things are like these are like nitpicks, you know.
Totally,
In the
totally.
end, when I look back on this whole experience, I think obviously there's things about the film itself or the process that I would love a mulligan on. Uh, but those things are pretty minor. And
Hmm.
when I think about it, I'm like, man, it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse.
So much worse.
Both in terms of the film itself, especially first feature, given like how hard it was to shoot out there, schedule, like chaos of shooting.
Yeah,
Um,
one positive
the
COVID test away from
the
like the whole
yeah,
thing.
but there's a version
Flip.
of the like when you like read letterbox reviews like trickle in, and some people like it, some people don't, but I just think about how it came out, and I'm like, man, if you'd showed me this film at the beginning, I would have taken it because
Yeah,
it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
And in the end, when it came to distribution, I think uh we kind of went with our gut in the same way that we went with our gut in terms of personnel throughout the whole process. We kind of when it came to like finding our collaborators and choosing a festival and ultimately choosing Glenn and choosing a distributor, we kind of just it was just kind of like a gut check, like how do we connect? How do we feel about this person? Like
yeah,
um it like do they give us a good feeling? Do we think they'd be good to work with? And I think we made great personnel decisions throughout,
yeah,
and
Hmm.
sort of letting that be our guiding force, I think led us in the right direction most of the time.
yeah.
So
Well
Yeah.
said.
How I'm sure you guys were all have heard of it. When you kind of get your first feature out there and especially sell it, which is a great accomplishment on its own, it kind of starts to serve as a calling card for careers. And I'm curious, since foil has a very specific kind of voice and genre, if now people are looking at you as the guys who do the sci-fi lighthearted stuff, or if you're like, oh, well, I want to do horror, I want to do comedy now, and they're like, no, you guys are the sci-fi. I don't know if you're running into that kind of problem, or surprisingly it's not that like that. I just heard, once you get out there and you get your big first movie, people look at you kind of one way.
well, I hope people are looking at us at all.
Yeah.
Nobody, nobody's blowing up our phone to
No.
ask us what we're doing next.
Yeah. Well,
But go ahead. Go
we're
ahead.
also we're both tinkering away on like what we think the next thing could be. Where we have one that feels like a gentle step up from foil's scope, and one that feels like a big step up from foil's scope. And we've been kind of wanting to whittle this into being presentable on a level that we could
Right.
basically. We haven't even checked to see if people are putting us on their radar yet, because we know the next question is like, so what's next? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
We want to have those things ready.
But they're
But
both
yeah,
they're both sci-fi scripts.
yeah,
So we are kind of like keeping ourselves in the genre of sci-fi with our next scripts.
hmm
Because well, we like it, but also I think because we made foil and now there's sort of a potential niche of audiences or people that we worked with along the way that are making similar kinds of projects. And
hmm
so we're like Zach said, one of this we wrote the script separately. One of them is a little bit bigger than Foil, and one of them is a lot bigger, but still not huge. But
like a 10x.
Yeah, one's a 2x and one's a 10x. But both sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before we wrap up, remind folks where they can see the film.
Yeah, foilmovie.com has a where to watch page that has all the links on there.
Perfect.
But we're
Prime
excited.
Video. It's on Prime Video. It's on Tubi, Tubi is apparently huge. So they have like 100 million active users.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
crazy. And Apple, if you're an Apple TV person, it's for sale and for rent there as well.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, Zach and Devin, don't hang up. We're going to wrap up here, but we want to chat with you a little bit afterwards. But congratulations again on Foil and getting it out to the world. And as we said when we talked the first time, it's a really, really fun movie. People need to watch it for sure.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate it.
All right, you guys take care.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, owned and operated by Stephanie Moore and Stephanie Harrison. We at Gemini Crown Tech have covered all your production management needs with our proprietary software. Please visit our website at www.geminicrowntech.com and use the code FMP for Filmmaker Mixer podcast listeners, so we know how you heard about us.
Thank you for listening to the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, a podcast created and hosted by filmmakers Jeff Stolen and Andrew Lamping, and produced by Melody Lopez.
Our theme song was composed by Stephen D. Bennett.
Make sure to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and stay tuned for future episodes.